to be inclusive, right?
Right.
You're going to get a demerit. This will be the first one in all your years on the community board.
Yeah.
Well, there are 9 attendees. What's with the attendees? Have we not checked them in or something?
No, it's
They come in when you hit,
I know, but are any of them applicants?
probably.
Do you have one of the names of just letting you know the meeting has started, everything is being recorded and it's on YouTube. Do you have at least one of the names of the applicants so I can move into a panelist?
Well, we can just ask, is there anybody here from 231, 233 West 74th or 2211 Broadway?
If so, can you please raise your hand?
Yeah, I can't see any of this. So.
Can they do that?
Virtually, they can raise their hand.
I only see on my screen our members, but not
Right.
guests.
Right, that's how it works. Until
Oh,
they're
okay.
panelists, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
There are now 10, although one
We
is a
are set
repeat.
8 of them.
One is a repeat.
Mhm.
Yes, mine says 19 participants, but I don't see their names.
Oh, yeah, if you hit attendees. you'll
Attendees.
see it.
Attendees, yeah.
Yeah, mine says that too.
Yeah, but you can see who they are.
And somebody's on the phone, but we still don't know if.
Oh, I see attendees. I
If they're
forgot about
applicants.
them.
Right.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. it's
Do we
nice.
know if any of them are applicants?
Well, they should maybe raise their hand like it was, like they were asked by Ashley.
Mhm.
They could, yeah, if you're new to this, you raise your hand by bringing your cursor to the bottom of the screen, and there should be a raise hand button or a 3 ellipsis in which the raise hand button can be found.
Yeah,
depending
I
on-
see 2 people are raising their hands at least, or 1 person.
Oh, there we go.
See that?
There we
First
go.
Listing.
Okay. So, Mark, do you want me to do it or you're gonna do it?
You should do it.
You go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
Promotion.
I'm going to get started.
Okay.
They can still hear me even if you didn't promote them, right? All right, so I'm gonna-
Correct. Yes.
all right, thanks. Good evening, everybody. Hey, Kay. Kay is here. This is the September 8th, 2022 meeting, a CB7 Preservation Committee meeting. And we have 2 applications in front of us this evening. We're down from 4 to 2. Let's present everybody on the committee first, and then I'll tell you, well, I could tell you now. We'll hear the first application we'll hear is on West 74th Street. The applicant can be questioned by the committee while they're making their application. And then we will see after that if any members of the community have questions. And then the committee will talk amongst themselves to form a resolution, and we'll vote on the resolution. We are an advisory committee. As you probably all know, we send our resolutions to the Landmarks Preservation Commission, hey Doug, for their, I guess as part of their consideration. They can ignore our resolution or adopt it or adopt some of it. They know what to do.
Yeah.
And
And from this committee, we bring the resolutions to the full board so that.
oh,
they-
yes, that's
we
right.
bring
We
them
have to
as
go to
a-
the full board with our resolutions for
And
their vote.
then to the landmarks.
And then landmarks. We respectfully ask that your meeting at landmarks take place after our full board meeting, which is
October 3rd.
Monday, October 3rd. Even though it says Tuesday on our committee, on the agenda we got.
Monday, yeah.
It's Monday, October 3rd.
That's good because I don't have to miss the ballet on Tuesday.
Or anything else.
It's an interesting
So-
Rosh Hashanah observance, the
Yom
ballet.
Kippur, only drink.
That's another form of ballet. All right, we will, I'll introduce everybody on the committee. My name is Michelle Parker. I'm co-chair with Kay Carpin. Please, thank you. We have with us tonight Madge Rosenberg. Paige Cowley, Clary Newell, Peter Sampton, Mark Diller, Jay Adolph, and our Veep, Doug Kleinman. He's not on committee, but he's on the board. All right, I think I explained everything. We will, is somebody here from 231, 233 West 74th Street? We'll hear
Yes.
that application first. Okay, great. So,
We need to share screen. Can you allow us to do that?
You should be able to. Did you try to?
I'm sorry, I didn't introduce our office member, Ashley, I forgot your last name,
Lopez.
Lopez. She's our IT, premier IT, and I don't want Mark to feel bad, so,
No, Ashley's the real thing. I just play it on TV.
okay.
No, but yes, but Michael, did you try to select a share screen? Did it allow you to do it, or you see?
I still get I'm still blocked.
Okay, not a problem. Very easy of a fix.
I'm on twice, actually. One on my cell phone and one on the.
Oh, yeah, we see that. This is an application for facade reconstruction, incident to the reconstruction of the collapsing party wall supporting both structures. I guess 231 and 233 are the structures.
Can you try it now, Michael?
It doesn't let me do it.
Says host disabled
Okay, all right.
participant screen sharing.
Okay, then
But he's not,
Gotta
if-
let the second, you gotta let the second M. Notaro do it.
okay.
Allowing it to be shared from my cell phone, but that's not where I'm sourcing.
I didn't
Okay.
ask, sorry, who's gonna take minutes? I took them the last two meetings and wrote some torturous.
we don't have a rota on that?
We don't have. I didn't hear what you said, Mark.
We don't have a
Run out of our
rotation.
Cycle.
Yeah, I think so. We're gonna start from the bottom, I guess, and work our way up.
Want me to
Madge?
do it?
Yeah, no, Madge, you want to do it? Minutes and resolutions, we'll help you with the resolutions. We can't hear you because you're muted. We can't hear you because you're muted.
I think Matt just did it recently.
Yeah, really?
I'll do it.
Okay, thanks, Mark. And please, you and I would consult for the resolution, and Kay, of course.
Okay,
Okay.
I don't mind doing it. But if Mark wants to, feel free.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, thanks.
Actually, we should fight it out, shouldn't we?
Yeah,
Right,
you should duke it out. All right, we're ready. Thanks.
Okay, you ready for us?
Yes, sir.
Please.
We applied initially, first of all, we started this job back in 2007 or so. And we encountered very, very, very bad conditions at the front facade of the building. We had applied way back when to the LPC for restoration of the facade. We found very deteriorated conditions, a lot of cracks, a lot of things that may be considered unsafe for the workers of this. And we also encountered a great deal of settlement, which continues to get worse. We went back to our preservationist at the time, and we informed them of the conditions and told them that we wanted to take the brick down and start to build it, catalog all of the materials and then build it back piece by piece. They said that this would require a public hearing. The owners had basically said, they put it on hold for a while. Recently, we reactivated it and filed again with LPC because our permit had expired by that time. And we applied directly to reconstruct the facade. The Landmarks Preservation Commission had reviewed our application, and their engineer had looked at our application And there was an exchange between our engineer and their engineer. And it turns out that the engineer suggested that we just simply restore the facade using facade restoration techniques already approved by the commission at staff level. And he denied the approach and the request to take the facade down and reconstruct it. We disagreed with him for several reasons. Number one, nobody from LPC at that time had visited the site, including the engineer who stated his position. We also feel that the level of deterioration, which had continued to degrade, continued to settle since that time, continued to worsen. There are many conditions that are impossible to restore safely, no matter how much shoring you put up. And at the end of the day, when a quote unquote, when and if a restoration would be done using the staff level approved restoration techniques, it would result in a building that leans toward the party, and two buildings that lean towards the center party wall between them.
How long have these buildings been empty?
Well, I'm going to say approximately since 2000, maybe a little bit before.
And the same person owns both both buildings?
The management company that there is a management company that owns both, manages both buildings. I think that each building has a separate owner managed by the same company. I think they're part of the same
Corporation.
corporate structure, but they are separate corporations.
And separate buildings.
Separate buildings, yeah.
Yeah,
Are
yeah,
separate, blocked and locked.
yeah.
They are linked by a party wall.
This photo actually makes them look elegant and great. These
Yeah.
they look a zillion times worse. They are
In
have
person.
been a blight on the neighborhood for a very long time.
And they were constructed at the same time?
Yes, they
Assume.
were. They were designed by the same architect, constructed at the same time, and are they are lovely buildings, actually. They have a lot of interesting detail, and it is the owner's intent and part of this application request, and ours as well, to restore, dismantle the front facades, restore the level, plumb, and true conditions, and to dismantle, catalog, and salvage and clean any materials that are original to the construction and reuse them, and then restore and then buy new materials that match the existing where that becomes necessary. And you'll see the details of this. And we think that that's a far better historic approach to this, because it both restores the existing, restores the buildings to their, let me say, pre-1990s condition, when they really started to settle due to a series of steam pipe mishaps. These buildings and other buildings on the adjacent lots here are fed by a central boiler plant, and they're piped under the floor. And there was some several leakage incidents which were not brought to the attention of the owner several years ago, many years ago, and it happened over a period of years, and more than one time, several times, which caused the settlement.
Michael, for context here, if you were to remove and rebuild the facades, or whatever you do with the facades, what about the whole rest of these two buildings? I understand the application is for the facades, but what's going on with the actual buildings behind the facades?
Well, the rest of the exterior walls and the roofs would be restored because they're not in nearly as bad condition as the facades, as the front facades. And the interiors would be, which were SROs years ago. The owner is planning to renovate them back to apartments. We're not sure of the configuration of the apartments yet, but they were SROs, and he's planning to scale back the number of units and result in buildings that were closer to the original number of units as they were, in the past.
Can I
Before it
ask
was
a
an
few
SRO.
question?
They
Sorry.
were
Sure. Go ahead, Paige.
for the SROs. He plans residential apartment units in here.
I hear a lot of wishful thinking, and I'm very concerned about this. I went online and I pulled up all the violations going back to 2008. And I don't understand why there was no protection, tarping, shoring, or whatever, because frankly, it looks like the only part of the building that is actually still standing and in better shape are the facades. So the question I have is, have you documented everything about the building of what could possibly be restored or repaired in place?
The side walls and the rear walls can be repaired in place. The owner is considering extending them out in the back a little bit.
I don't want to hear about new work. I'm talking here preservation. So who was the design professional who said that the building had to be demolished?
No one said the building had to be demolished.
But you said you had to take it down and rebuild it. Why?
Our request is to take down the front facades, restore the conditions that caused the settlement, and then rebuild the front facades as they were per their historic arrangement and conditions, using the same materials, level, plumb, and true. The
But-
interior of the building
No,
is
stop.
stored.
I don't want to hear about the interior. I'm concerned about the fact that the owner has done nothing to stabilize the facade. And it looks like it's still standing, and it still needs propping and shoring, not just a sidewalk shed. Because going back to 2008, there has been a FTM, which is an abbreviation for failure to maintain. So it looks like this building has had no attention since 2008. I don't understand that. And I can't imagine the Landmark Commission allowing a full demolition of a facade that hasn't been fully documented, at least to have.
Crazy, no.
If I could add just, I guess, a question or attach something to Paige's question. The heading we had for this, you look a lot better there. The heading we had for this application is needing to do this because of a collapse of the party wall, as I understand it, the party wall between these two buildings and not
Correct.
on either side.
The party wall.
But I don't understand that in terms of how you've been presenting this as the condition of the front facades of these two buildings.
Well, there's a miscommunication somewhere. Party wall is not collapsed. The party wall is in place. The interior is shored. The front facades of the buildings need to be restored. We've been trying to get on several occasions with the Landmarks Commission to agree on an approach. We're very close to, at this point, to getting a strategy in place to address all of these conditions. And the issue is, do we address them in place and leave a crooked tilting building in place? Or do we take the facade down carefully, piece by piece, catalog and restore each piece that is salvageable and still reusable, and then put it back in its original location and configuration, level instead of tilted and
Can
plumb
I
and
ask
true?
a question? Forget about the tilting or whatever. can you describe two things for me at least? What is your role in the project and who is the design team, structural engineer, architect, preservationist who you're working with?
We are the architects. We have a structural engineer that we're working with, Ayman El Tahami, and we are the applicant to LPC.
Thank you.
Hey,
Brian
Jay,
Mack
I'm
is our
sorry.
preservationist at the Landmarks Preservation Commission. We met with them recently on site to fully understand the nature of the request for reconstruction of the front facades. That's what we're applying for today.
Because that's not what was on the application that I received anyway.
No, I don't know how it got the title of, because of the collapse of the party wall.
Okay. The
Yeah.
party wall is not collapsed.
Okay,
It's in place. It's settled a little bit. The front, nothing has collapsed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Says
And-
collapsing party wall.
it's
okay,
labeled.
it's settling. It's settling. It's not collapsing. And it's
So
still,
there's nothing actually falling apart, correct? It's
Correct.
just crappy, aged stone, right? So
It-
why are you taking it down?
we want to take it down because the backup, there's no real way that we can reinforce it effectively. And
It looks pretty good to me.
it's not.
You've
It's
got
dangerous.
plywood in the windows, it's weather protected. The cornice is shot to smithereens. You said that the roof is fine. The brickwork is immaculate. All the joints are there except maybe 50. It's dirty. But why would you take it apart?
Because we want to restore it to this condition.
You can. I think you're missing a step here. You need to go back, in my opinion, and actually document the conditions that are there. They're not so bad. We have seen so much worse than this. The settlement and everything can be handled.
That's what we plan to do, but it can't be handled using restoration techniques. It has to be dismantled and rebuilt because of conditions like this. Do you see the photograph here on the right?
Yes, I do.
There's no way to restore that condition and have it
Well,
level.
this is not this building, it's 75th Street, right? That photo.
No,
No.
this is 231 and 233 West
West
74th. This
Well, it's
mislabeled.
labeled West 75th.
There, done.
Okay.
Okay.
Jay, you have a question?
Well, yeah, question, I not really, but I have an observation. The application as stated that we were given was an application for a certificate of appropriateness for facade reconstruction.
Correct.
Incident to the reconstruction of the collapsing, not collapsed, collapsing party wall supporting both structures. We are not, the application before us, with respect, is not whether any work concerning the party wall. The question before us, it seems to me, is just whether or not it is appropriate for this facade to be reconstructed in an appropriate way, and whether some of it can be restored or some of it can be needs to be reconstructed, I think is up to the applicant. Our concern is whether the result will be a reconstructed facade that is appropriate. So I think we need to focus on what is planned to be done. And if in fact this facade is going to be reconstructed as it was originally and using the same materials, salvaging the materials and reusing them, I think that's what we have to determine is either appropriate or inappropriate. And all of these questions, again, with respect as to how it can be done and who the structural engineer is and who the design people, may satisfy some of our curiosities, but it's not relevant to the issue before this committee.
Well, I beg to differ because
I know you beg to differ.
all right,
because
can
you
I
asked all
respond?
These
I just
questions.
want to respond
I just don't
quickly.
think it's, I think
Could
it's.
I- could I
May
jump
I
in on
please
that?
respond
Yeah,
quickly?
wait a minute, wait.
Normally, when we get these kind of projects, there are very detailed documented drawings, HABs quality, that document exactly every element. And it's done, you can do it by photogrammetry is one method. I don't see here any preparation to document so that the building can be put back in, reconstructed. So
Are you suggesting,
there's a
Paige,
missing link.
are you suggesting that you don't believe the applicants that it can be reconstructed as it was originally? Are you suggesting?
No, I didn't say that. I
Well,
didn't
that's what
say
you
that.
seem to be implying.
No, I'm implying that the documentation for that kind of operation to reconstruct a facade, I don't see HABs quality documentation that would show that. This
With
is a nice
respect, I don't
working
think-
drawing,
I don't
but
think
it's
it's
not
our
HABs
job.
quality.
I don't think it's our job to evaluate whether or not this can be done, but I think we need to proceed on the assumption that it can be reconstructed and it will be restored to its original facade. And we need to determine if that's appropriate. We're not construction experts. We're not employing independent.
Nobody's asking that.
experts.
I'm looking for the documentation that would give somebody, a contractor, the ability to reconstruct. There are no details.
That's not our, I don't
Yeah,
believe, with respect, that's not our job.
I'd suggest that we have
Continue.
two other people who'd like to weigh in on this, Madge and Mark. So let's hear from them and then see what's to be done.
Mark?
I would like to hear back from the architects first, if they have more documentation, number one, and number two, why is Page opposed to the taking the wall down and rebuilding it if that's a better way to do it?
All right,
And we'll have a very good result. It sounds
let's not
like
have her answer that right now. We'll have Mark say what he had to say. Then it looks
Right.
like Doug's hand is up.
Okay, so.
Thank you, Madge.
So when we're talking about repairing or restoring in place, I think I might agree with Jay that we shouldn't look behind the expertise of the applicant. However, when we talk about the wholesale demolition of a landmark structure, and I'm thinking about or a structure that's in an historic district is more appropriate here. So maybe a good example would be that building that was next door to the Lucerne. It was about 10 years ago. And even though that was a completely unremarkable facade, the first hurdle that had to be crossed was whether it is appropriate to tear down what is there now before you go on to the question of whether it's what they propose to put back is itself appropriate. While I take at face value, as I think Jay is saying we should, that the architect's intent is to replace in kind or replace with the same detail, I do believe it's appropriate for our committee and our board to offer an opinion as to whether demolition, and that's basically what's going on here, demolition of the facade that's part of the historic district, is appropriate under these circumstances. There's a limit to how far I want to get into the weeds of the engineering aspects of that, both because it's beyond my ken and because it sounds like LPC has its own engineer who has already given at least one view of that. And I'm not sure that our committee ought to weigh in on that, other than to say that if we are so led, for example, that whatever gets put back has to be what was there now, perhaps with slightly different materials, if that's what part of the proposal. We haven't heard it yet. But I do think it's appropriate that we at least pause on the question of whether it is appropriate to tear down what's there now. The argument before us is necessity. And I think we ought to hear the rest of the application in order to weigh that in its full context. I'll shut up now.
Yeah, we'll hear from Doug, and then if you don't mind, Jay, I'd like to hear the rest of the application. All right, go ahead, Doug.
I'm willing to wait till later, also not being a committee member, but I'd like to put some context to this building. I know quite a bit about it because I grew up on this block, and I'd like to make some observations, and some characterizations, because I think it's relevant. But I will certainly wait till later, whenever you think is appropriate.
And I'm happy to wait until we reach the point where you call upon us for comments.
All right. Okay, so, Mr. Notaro, can you continue?
Yes,
Thank you.
looking for one more thing.
231.
This is the complete,
Yeah,
no, I need the compiled set.
it's there.
Where?
It was there.
Okay. Go ahead.
Go back to where you were,
Mhm.
231.
Mhm.
That right there. That's
This?
the compiled set. Yeah, pretty sure.
No.
Yeah, just expand that window.
It's one sheet. Okay. We had issued an engineering drawing, an engineering assessment of this, which was submitted to Landmarks. And this was a very extensive study of the facade. And we did, in this report, we did Windsor pin tests to determine the structural integrity and the mortar bonding ability of the backup masonry, which was so weak, which caused us to be able to take off some of the face brick with our bare hands. There was no bond strength left to the mortar. A lot of the panels on the building are tilting outward laterally. They're failing. The bow window, the curved bow window on building 233 is failing. And is also laterally failing because of the lack of bond strength. And because of this, it's evident to what happened to our PowerPoint. Okay, it's evident to us that the only safe way to do this, the engineering report raised the issue that that some of the through lintels are very dangerous and very difficult to shore. It's very difficult to restore this safely. The context photo shows where we are. This is the drawing of the building. This is the 1940s tax photo, which I think is very important because it shows almost no settlement at all in the facade. It's been stated to Landmarks, and it's been stated in the engineering report that was submitted to Landmarks that this is the desired result of this application. We plan and are applying to the Community Board and the Landmarks Preservation Commission to restore the building to this condition, the exterior of the building to this condition via reconstruction of the front facade. And we feel, after having looked at the facade very carefully, we do have construction drawings. They are not part of this PowerPoint presentation, but Corey's, I think you should find so that I can call them up. And we went to the building, we did our surveys. You can see using a line level here. You can see the amount of settlement. These are recent photos. So this was earlier in 2022. We're standing on the top of the sidewalk shed. We're measuring the amount of vertical displacement. We're looking at some of the conditions that really would be very, very difficult to restore effectively. We're looking at the overall photos back from 2007, which show a lot of the settlement.
And all of that stoop stuff has been removed, right? It's all gone.
No,
The
the stoop
stoops-
the stoop is- and the plan is to restore the stoop to its original condition shown in the 1940s tax photo without the center settlement, using the same materials to the extent possible, resulting in a historic, an accurate historic restored facade via reconstructing the pieces, the units, the individual units, the stones, the lintels where they can be restored, the belt courses, the brick, the terracotta units, portions of the sheet metal, and portions of the metalwork above, with a new slate roof, new slate mansard and turret, to the extent where the materials are able to be salvaged and cleaned and reused. That's the intent. Where they're broken and unsalvageable and crumbled, such as you can see here in this photograph, where there's a through crack through this lintel that traverses the entire wall, the intent is to replace it with new material that matches the old. This is Ohio sandstone. This is to give you some a close-up view of the amount of settlement that has occurred towards the center of the building. This gives you a close-up view of why restoration, by repointing and pinning these brick back to the backup, is just not going to result in a serviceable facade because of the through cracks in the lintels and the weakened condition of the backup masonry. This would be unsafe during the process of restoration. A collapse could occur, and it would result in just a pointed, tilted, imperfect facade. This is the bow window, the bow projected bay on building 233. Again, the bricks are falling vertically here, and it's tilting towards the center party wall, and it is also tilting out laterally. So it's moving out.
Michael, in the real world, we're advisory only, so whatever we might or might not say to LPC or advise LPC, recommend LPC. But if LPC does not approve the reconstruction as opposed to restoration, in the real world, what happens next? The owner has basically created a situation of demolition by neglect over the last 20 years with these buildings. They're presumably becoming worse by the minute. And you're the architect, I understand you're not the owners, but if LPC says no, what happens here?
Good question.
I believe that the owner is interested in taking the building down, taking the facade down and reconstructing it. If the facade falls down because we can't reach a decision, I don't know. I don't know what the next step would be, but I know that he really wants to take it down, reuse all of the materials, and restore it back to the 1940s photo.
Yeah, no, I think we all understand what the application is and the basis of the application.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there was some confusion at the beginning, and I hope everyone's clear that this is restoration of the front facade via reconstructing it.
I'd like to hear Doug's perspective on this. I'd like to have the historical perspective, and then we'll go
Sure.
to other questions.
And I would like to say that I am not on this committee. I am not an architect. I am not an expert. There are some wonderfully talented people on this call, so I yield to their opinions. I grew up on this block. I spent a tremendous amount of time on this block. I do remember when the building was in better repair. I knew people that lived in this building. I'm not sure if anyone is in the building. I heard that there was one resident that was still there. But I will say, as a matter of record, I have been asked, both as a civilian in the neighborhood and also as a community board member, to please help to do anything with this matter. The matter being that this building has been blighted, on a blight to the neighborhood. It is regularly, daily and nightly used for people consuming alcohol, doing drugs, lots of things. The NYPD is aware of it. I've spoken to the neighborhood community officers. It's been brought up at Build-A-Block meetings. The Block Association is very upset about this building, the tenant associations, co-op boards, et cetera. I am very pleased to hear that something is going on, because for years, it's been a mystery as to who owns the property and can we get in touch with someone, what are they doing? So to wait 16 years, I mean, the fact that, as a matter of record, as it was mentioned tonight, that there was a failure to maintain, that's on the record. Yeah, boy, I would agree, because it's been a mess. So, I mean, look, I just want to say that as a neighbor, I'm delighted to hear that you're going to do something. But you know, you know, there was a nunnery to the west, which is the party wall. It's now it's a woman's residence, and then your other party wall to the east is Fairway. So, you know, eventually, whatever plan of work you do, there's a tremendous amount of traffic on this block due to the deliveries. So I'd like, you know, eventually down the road, I think a plan to allow pedestrian and vehicular traffic to go by, it's going to be a mess. So anyway, thank you for listening. I'm very happy. I hope the end result will be a beautiful building where there'll be livelihood again, but it is a terrible, terrible problem. And it has been brought to my attention countless number of times. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. Madge, do you have another question?
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So I agree with Jay that we should focus on the issue that is presented to us. And since we are advisory, we are not expected to be engineers, and landmarks can ignore our advice. They can ask more questions. They can divvy up his project into as many pieces as they want. But before us, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, they want to take down the facade and rebuild it to its 1940 condition and vision. And they will save as much material as they can, but they have to replace those materials that cannot be used anymore.
I agree, Michelle, and I think our resolution could certainly flag any concerns that we have, you know, obviously, but I think the resolution should focus on the end result as it's presented, because and whether that's appropriate to the character of the historic district.
Yeah, now can we go back to that slide that shows what you have to replace? What parts must be replaced?
Yes.
You have a
Yes.
nice little slide there.
I'll get to it in a second. I just want to show you the panel of brick that's leaning out. The condition of the backup masonry is very soft, as revealed by the Windsor pin test included in our structural engineers report.
Mhm.
So we're verifying here, and we feel very confident that it would be foolhardy to restore this in place, because it would result in an unsafe building, and it would deteriorate rapidly again, because the condition of the wall all the way through is extremely weak due to the weathering, due to the age, wear and tear, and due to the settlement that has occurred since subsequent to the 1940s photographs. We have, this is an excerpt from our document package. which intends to illustrate how we plan to catalog the material and how we plan to put it back. These are dimensions that document the masonry openings and the dimension of the brick piers and the brick coursing and the stone coursing, which will all be an essential part of the reconstruction process. And this is exactly what we're planning on doing should it be approved. And this is the settlement. This is a sort of a cartoon graphic of which materials need to be replaced. The right-hand panel on this color key shows the darker shade where the materials have failed and cracked and crumbled to the point where they are no longer reusable. So you can see by this diagram here that a large percent of the existing stock of this building is going to be reused. The value of reconstructing this building is to take away the settlement that has occurred and restore the connection to the existing party wall. Once again, that has not collapsed, that is in place, but has settled in conjunction with the front facade. So we will restore that connection, structural connection to the party wall, both for 231 and 233. The party wall is in the center of these two buildings. That's the subject party wall that we're talking about, not the wall adjacent to the nunnery and not the wall adjacent to Fairwell. This is the wall that's problematic. Some of the sandstone and some of the slate bluestone steps here are cracked. The lintels that are extremely dangerous that go through the facade, through the three widths of masonry of the front facade, need to be completely replaced. And in order to do that, in a restoration scenario, you'd have to needle pin, install needle pins in here and install shoring below, and then get crane in the new or boom in the new lintels and then build the brick on top of that. And at the end of the day, you still have an intensely settled facade up to 5 inches in the center. After all of that effort, you still have a building that gives the appearance that it's crumbling. All of the terracotta is planned on reuse. It's in great condition, and it's going to be taken out and reused here and here. And the inner part of this terracotta panel also will be reused. A few pieces of terracotta at the perimeter frame here need to be replaced because they apparently have cracked. We'll know more when we take it apart and examine each piece, as we've done in the past on other restoration projects. And if it's reusable and the bisque is still intact, it'll get reused. If not, it'll get remade in terracotta. The brick, we found a good match, and we know there are good matches out there, and we can even customize that match so that we can blend it in so that you will, that new brick will be impossible to locate on the reconstructed facade. We did something similar on the rear walls of 16 West 74th Street, where we dismantled at Landmark's urging the outer white of brick and then mixed it in with new brick and reconstructed the outer white of brick in a partial reconstruction scenario approved at staff level. Extremely successful, extremely strong, sturdy, and serviceable, and it maintained the historic appeal of the rear walls of the building that are seen by so many residents of the back apartments up and down 73rd and 74th Street. Here we see the amount of tilting at the bottom, the base of the party wall, center party wall between 231 and 233. And again, to restore this just by pointing and pinning and so forth doesn't really appeal to me in terms of producing a historically accurate result. In our minds and in the owner's minds, a goal is to restore to the 1940 standard, and using reconstruction as a mechanism for this. We have another failed lintel here on 233. This is to answer someone's question earlier today about whether the front wall, the outer wall of the front stoops are still there. Yes, and we plan to use much of it, but we have plans to replace the stones that have deteriorated, like this one, this stone, and this stone. And we just wanted to illustrate again why we feel that reconstruction is a better approach, because you can see the amount of settlement that has occurred here. In order to really restore this to a safe condition, it has to be taken down. And the bearing condition of these treads, which are load-bearing masonry, really have to be taken down in order to make them safe. You can see the amount of camber and just deflection here at the front wall, but the intent is to restore it as it was originally built. This is an excerpt from our construction document set. Again, the construction documents are separate for 231 and 233, but because they're separate block and lots and separate applications to the DOB, but for this purpose, we're showing you a composite here that illustrates the amount of reconstruction necessary and the detail that we plan to utilize to approach this. Again, we have the bluestone risers and treads. We have repairs to the load-bearing masonry portions that are concealed. We have a new concrete section that is not seen at all, but is going to be result in the long-lasting reconstruction of the front steps and the waterproof integrity of those front steps in a manner that is better than what was originally constructed at the time. This,
Can we, with respect, I think we have so much information. I think we have more than enough information. I think we should move this forward. We've now spent an hour
Well, I
repeating
understand.
the same concerns, and I think we need to move forward.
Well, let's hear from Peter, because we haven't heard from him. And then Peter,
Yeah,
Peter, you have to, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it baffles me a little bit that I don't know how much of the existing facade is really going to be kept. It sounds like it's going to be completely replaced. Is that true?
no, that's not
There's
true.
a picture.
Most of it is maintained. All of the lighter color materials here are serviceable and able to be salvaged and reused. The darker colors show the individual units and individual groups of units, in the case of the brick, that need to be replaced. Darker color replaced, darker color replaced. Terracotta.
And you can do that?
Yes, we've done it in the past, and we can do it again here.
Okay.
We've demonstrated that we feel very
Okay.
strong that it can be done that way.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Peter. So Madge, I see your hand up.
I put it down, but I think I'd like to just ask my last question. Is there any way that this could weaken any of the other walls?
No, this will have they're not bonded together. This is going to result in a sturdy exterior front facade, which is going to further strengthen the remaining elements of the building, the side walls, and it's going to also serve as an anchor point for the center party wall, which is in decent condition. It needs some work, but it's certainly not collapsing and certainly serviceable. So that that it will serve as an anchor point and a historically correct reconstruction.
Yeah.
Much of the sheet metal, we wanted to point out, is
That's enough already.
be reused.
Okay. All right, Jay, you're finished saying what you have to say. I think we want to hear Mark and then go forward with the
resolution.
a resolution.
Great. So what I've been, so I appreciate the presentation and the detail. I think I share Paige's concern that it's difficult to, and well, let me just say it as if it was my concern. I don't want to put words in Paige's mouth, excuse me. I guess my concern is to make sure that we can have a point of reference so that when they say they were going to restore it to its original condition, that there's a means to that end. And I don't know whether the original 1890 documents exist to do that. And it sounded to me like there was some method of documentation, some rather accepted method of documentation to record what's there now, or at least what's supposed to be there now, so that we can do that. So what I would do is I would propose the following resolution, and maybe that'll give us some focus for our discussion, if I may. I would propose a resolution that reflects the conditions, the current conditions. I would propose that the resolution take no position on whether it's appropriate or not to demolish the front facade, but assuming that rebuilding is in this building's future, that we would approve the rebuilding to restore the building to the appearance and integrity evident in the 1940 tax photo, since that's the point of reference we've been given. I would condition that on a detailed inventory and documentation of the condition as presented in the 1940 tax photo, so that LPC and everybody else has something to measure as to whether the resulting facade conforms to what it is that we think it should. That it be, and that we use only original materials. One of the things that I was concerned about in the presentation was the phrase to the extent necessary. In other words, that we would reuse materials or use matching materials to the extent available, to the extent necessary. So I would include in it in the resolution a condition that no synthetic materials be used on the front facade, because we know and we've seen, and sometimes it's perfectly appropriate and actually advantageous to use synthetic materials on the cornice or on some of these lintel constructions and so forth, but that's usually above the 6th floor. And I don't think that that's appropriate here, because this building is right, it is and should be right there on the street level where everybody can see it. So it would, my proposed resolution is to take no position on the deconstruction or demolition, to assume that if there is reconstruction, that it be brought back to the 1940 tax photo, that there be documentation against which that result can be measured, and that only original materials or matching materials in kind be used, and that no synthetic materials be used. That's my proposed resolution. I hope for a second.
Yes, I mean, if I can second it, I'll second it, because that's where my thinking is going as well. I think it's good for us.
Yeah, I with respect to Mark's resolution, I mean, we have on countless occasions approved projects where some material has to be removed and replaced, and some material can be reused, and some original material can be left in place. Seems to me that this application, as it's been submitted, is something that we should applaud, rather than spend countless time somehow casting doubt on whether these obviously qualified professionals have determined the best method of reproducing these historic buildings exactly as they were. I just find this whole discussion to be frustrating, obviously, and I apologize for my frustration, but we have somebody here who's doing exactly what we always want people to do, which is do what is absolutely necessary in the best way possible to produce a historically accurate and appropriate result. And I think we should just approve this as it's submitted. And as far as Mark's position with respect of taking no position on demolition, we're not talking about demolishing a building here. Restoration / replacement, restoration / reconstruction is a combination of methodologies and steps that we deal with and approve all the time. Not all material can be salvaged. If original material can be salvaged and can be used, great.
All right.
If not, appropriate replacement material will be used. I think this, I mean, it's just frankly, I think it's an exercise in nitpicking.
Can hear you.
I'd like to hear from Clary, and then Peter, if you have something to say. Clary?
Yeah, there's so much bad history here that I'm not confident, notwithstanding the professional integrity of the architects, which I don't question, and their expertise. I have really no confidence that deconstructing and salvaging and reconstructing is going to give us the result that is intended here. I think I support Mark's resolution. I largely disagree with Jay, but I would support Mark's resolution, I think, because it takes no position on reconstruction versus restoration. And I don't think we're qualified to do that and for this entire facade, and don't have to. I mean, as far as I would go in its favor is, I think what Mark has done. So it's a long way of saying I'm ready to vote yes on Mark's resolution. With a lot of hope, but not a lot of, a lot of hope, but not a lot of confidence that the result is going to be what we hope it will be.
Isn't every application like that, Clary?
No, not I think. You don't have a building that's been demolished by neglect for 20 years, and then the owner comes and says, I'm going to make it perfect. And you believe it. It's not like every application.
They're not, this is not their first rodeo, so to speak.
Right.
They've done this before, so they could say this, they can do this, accomplish this.
The
They have
architects,
the integrity to say
The
that.
architects, yeah.
Right.
the architects have done similar things with what they describe as success. which
Yeah, and
we-
that gives me some confidence as well.
Did
And-
anyone second the resolution? Can we vote?
I seconded it.
Yeah.
Can we
You
vote?
seconded Mark's resolution?
Yes.
And let me
Did.
make sure I get this right, to take no position on demolition.
On reconstruction versus restoration. Is that right, Mark?
No, wait a minute.
No.
That's not
Yeah.
what Mark said.
On the demolition part of it. So in effect, Clara, you're both right. I think we take no position. There's only two of us that are really qualified to have an opinion at all. And I don't think the board should be put in the position of saying whether demolition versus restoration in place is appropriate. And it sounds like LPC is already on that case with its own engineer. So I say we take no position on whether demolition versus restoration in place is the appropriate avenue.
There's nothing in this application
That
that
says
says demolition. The
It's-
word demolition appears nowhere. It says reconstruction.
Reconstruction.
Yeah, but it says reconstruction by taking down everything that's there and then putting it back. That's
Okay,
different.
well, that's what they think is necessary to safely restore the building.
And
And
I'm
keep it from
agreeing with a
settling.
lot of that, Jay. What I'm saying is that this is not the same thing as some of the applications I'm trying to think of one in recent memory, where somebody has to fix one window or fix one area of leakage. This is a wholesale replacement of the facade, which I think, and I agree with Jay very much that our resolution in its whereas clauses should applaud the effort to restore this building to the 1940s tax photo, which is what we all want.
Yes.
So I hope I've clarified, and I'll shut up again.
Okay, let's vote.
All right,
Yeah, let's
so
vote.
we're going to vote on Mark's resolution.
Yes.
Is there anybody in the public that wants to
Yeah, anybody in the public that wants to say anything, make a comment?
maybe take down the,
There's a hand up,
I don't see-
David Hermine.
David,
sorry,
you can
I
talk.
was muted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening. Thank you so much for taking this issue up. I live in the same building that Doug Kleinman lives in. I've been a resident here for 30 years. I've seen the decay of this building over a number of years. The biggest issues that we have, I applaud trying to get this building fixed. This has been the bane of our existence now for 15 years or more. The scaffolding has been up. We have problems, as Doug mentioned, with drugs, homeless, urination, defecation, people that are leaving garbage. All the Fairway employees use that front wall as their hangout constantly. They leave garbage behind. So this has been a huge issue for this block for many years. My two concerns are, one, how long, if this deconstruction is approved, how long is this going to take? And two, if the deconstruction is not approved, I think I go back to a comment made by Clary, with the landlord not being a good actor, how do we know that something will be done and the scaffolding will be taken away and the building will either be demolished or handled in the appropriate way? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
A real quick answer to part one. How long might this project, if approved, take? Or let's say when approved?
Michael?
We believe it'll take 2 construction seasons.
So that means in non-construction experience years? How
2
many?
years?
Years.
How many? I'm sorry.
2.
A little less than 2 years.
Okay, 2 years. All right.
Great.
And as to the second part of the question, I don't think anybody on this committee should answer that, and I'm not sure that the applicant can answer that.
Right. So let's, Michelle,
Do we vote?
You want to take the vote on the?
let's move
on
to the
our
vote so we
resolution?
can have adequate time for the second.
Okay. You want to call the names? Or
Certainly.
I can.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Kay, what's your vote on Mark's resolution?
I vote yes.
Okay, and I vote no. Jay? Do we have you?
I temporarily pass.
So, all right, so I'll come back to you.
Yes, please.
Paige,
No,
Mark,
yes.
Larry,
I'm holding my nose and applauding Mark's care in what he has suggested and voting yes.
okay, Madge,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes,
okay, and back to you, Jay.
Abstain.
Okay, so the vote is, the vote for the committee is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor of Mark's resolution, 2 not in favor, 1 abstain, and 0 for cause. Doug, what's your vote?
I vote yes.
Okay, is there anybody else from the board on? I don't see them.
No.
So the vote for non-committee board members is 1, 0, 0, 0. So Mark's resolution passes.
can I ask a question real quick?
Why not?
I would suggest a PS to this application, and that would be to ask the applicant and the architects to discuss photogrammetry with the Landmark Commission. And it's done by photograph, and it goes to 1/32 of an inch to actually produce a detailed document drawing, just as the backup, to make sure that all of the pieces do go back where they're supposed to. It's not expensive. There are companies that come out with a special camera and they shoot the picture. And I think that will give a lot of reassurance to me and others on our community board, if you could do that. And I would suggest you talk to Corey or Jared at the LPC. Okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Michael, we want,
Good.
clearly the community wants something done with these properties. Clearly, we want it done correctly. Clearly, you're lucky that you have experience in the form of Paige and others, so that you don't get tripped up at LPC, and or you can make a more concise application. And we're on your side. The bottom line is we're really
Exactly.
on your side.
Certainly.
So
All right.
thank
And
you.
is there a date for the LPC?
Yeah, they have a date next week, don't you?
We don't, it depends on your response to LPC. If that comes promptly, then we might be able to issue our public hearing next week.
On the 13th.
It's
Otherwise,
supposed to be, yeah.
otherwise it has to wait until
October.
after the beginning of October.
Yeah, we ask that you do that because this resolution will not go before, we take our the resolution from the full board to LPC. But
So anytime after the 3rd of October would be appropriate at LPC.
yes,
Please.
Okay.
so you should, who should Michael contact at the board, Ashley, for to confirm that they will hold over their hearing at LPC till next month?
It could be Jesse, but if you email us to the general, no problem in forwarding it to Jesse or to the appropriate parties.
That's
Jesse's
Jesse.
in touch. Yeah, Jesse. And she's in touch with Sonia and whoever else.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We move forward on this, really. We're on your
Great.
side.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great discussion.
Thank you. All right,
All
now
right,
we have.
Michelle, here we go.
2211 Broadway, the Apthorp building. They want to put granite stairs on the outside of one of the other doorways on the north. And the same, and are they here?
Let's
The
hope.
Apthorp here. Sometimes they don't show up. Oh, yay. Mr. Lombardi's here.
Indeed. Welcome.
Welcome, yes.
Should be able to come off mute.
Thank you very, very much for your time and patience, everybody.
Right.
So, nice to meet you all.
Hi, yeah.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. So, as we had discussed, I had spoken to you all previously about the sidewalks at the Apthorp. Thank
Yes.
you very much for that. The sidewalk project is 95% complete. Now we have an existing concrete stair that we were gonna remove, waterproof beneath it to properly waterproof the subcellar space, and then reinstall the concrete stair. Landmarks said that they would prefer if we went back with a granite stair to match the existing adjacent conditions.
Mhm.
So we went back and forth with ownership for several months. Ownership finally agreed to open up their wallet and pay for the expensive granite. And really,
Yeah, you got a tough job, Lombardi.
it's not an easy one, I say. But
You don't want cement stairs that people are going to take for granted.
that
In other words,
I got.
sorry.
So LPC was pleased to hear that ownership changed their mind, and they just asked us to have your permission to please proceed with the granite stair replacement. And I have a presentation if I could share
Yeah.
it.
Yes, do try to share it.
Okay. let me
Yeah,
s-
we're mostly concerned that it is completely the same as the other doorway on that side of the street.
Yes.
Now that you took the bench away, sorry, Doug.
Perfect.
You took that dog's bench away, man.
Oh, I
Yeah.
remember. That's right.
Yeah.
Please, Doug, don't hold it against me, please.
No, no.
And I have to admit, Paige, I agree with you that what are those other things called? The
The
lightways?
sidewalk lights, yes.
Yeah, I
Sidewalk
have to
lights, yeah.
admit that that's a big loss.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I confess. You're right. You were right, Paige.
Well, it's,
Hey, just off it,
you
right?
can't have everything.
Right.
Okay,
Well-
sorry, we're ready for you.
No, thank you. So again, the purpose of this is to get your approval to replace an existing concrete stair to match the adjacent granite stair. This is the historic photos, and you can see that there is no stair or doorway at the time. The door and stair. So here you go. Here's the bench. Sorry, but over here you can see that there's no stair and no door. The door and stair were added at a later time, and you can see here it doesn't match historically in any way. It's a square concrete versus the rounded granite elements of the door. We have shop drawings. We have everything ready to go from the contractor to replace the existing stair with the new granite stair to match. And you can see in plan that they will match symmetrically and in material. And as far as materials, of course, we're going to go through Ms. Dina and Bernadette from LPC, make sure they approve all our mock-ups. And here you go. So this is just a plan. Here's the existing stair, and you can see. And here is our proposed to match the existing adjacent.
Beautiful.
We have, as I said, we have very good shop drawings already prepared. This is a detail of the existing stair removal. We're going to be cutting, which we have already removed the stair because we properly waterproofed below. So we removed the concrete, and we plan on going back with a new waterproofing system, which is here horizontally. And now we just want to tie it in vertically. And then we're going to install our granite stairs on top of that. And here's a photo of a very recent photo of the conditions that we see. This is them removing the stair, and this is the new sidewalk placed over it. And we tried to put together a quick rendering just to show you from this angle. You have your squares, your rectangular shapes for the stair, and now we have the nice curved granite piece that's going to match this existing here.
Right.
So I hate to make this easier than the last one for you, but that's all I have, and I hope you'll approve this.
Ready to move
yeah.
to approve.
Mark.
Yeah, it looks like there's a little like plinth thing going on at the bottom as well as the handrail at the top. The picture is small. I take it you're going to basically use the same model?
Yes, so the new stair is going to match 100% to the adjacent.
Perfect, thank you. I'm in favor.
All right, so somebody made an application.
Jay
to
has his
approve-
hand up. Michelle.
Yeah, I
okay,
move
Jay.
we approve the application as presented.
Yes,
Thank-
I
thank-
second that.
Second,
All right, so we'll take a vote and okay,
Yeah, yes.
and I'm a yes. Jay,
Yes,
Paige,
Close to perfect.
Thank
Mhm.
Mark,
Yes.
Clary. Is she still here?
Clary.
Yeah, looks like
Ms.
she's,
Ms. Lombardi, if you take down the drawing,
Absolutely.
then we can see each other.
I think she probably went to the ladies' room.
Clary's been raptured.
Okay, Madge,
yes,
Peter,
Yes,
and we're just missing Clary's vote for a slam dunk here. I'll take non-committee board members. Doug?
Yes.
All right, so that vote is 1-0-0-0. I wonder where Clary went.
Her
Oh, you
space
want-
is still there.
Yeah,
only twice.
yeah. Yeah, can I ask a quick question? Don't hate me, everybody. How come the color of the, and this is not from me, this is from my husband. How come the color of the new sidewalk is different from the color of the older sidewalk?
Because the newer sidewalk section is LPC gray, as approved and requested by LPC, and the other section we didn't touch was done at another time, modified at another time before us.
I see. Okay, I'm gonna tell him that.
Thank
you. I don't have Clary here, so
Well,
I guess she's absent from this vote.
Can we,
yep,
is it all right to,
No, she hasn't arrived yet.
Yeah, so the vote is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Could you put in brackets 8 possibly if she,
yeah, is it all right with the committee if we get
If
her
we
vote
adjourn the
later?
meeting and she's still not here, then the answer is no,
Yeah,
but the resolution
it.
did pass 7-0-0-0.
And she
Thank
will
you
get
all.
to vote at full board.
And she will get to vote at full board. Yeah.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. The application, your was, well, you know, the vote 7-0-0-0, and you know when you'll be at LPC because it's not next week.
No, Dina had requested that we present October 3rd.
Oh,
October 4th. Oh, full
No.
board will be 3rd. Their meeting will be on the 4th.
I believe so. Yeah, she
Really?
said they were backed up in September and she wanted me to push it to October. So I said, that's fine.
well, that's a little inconvenient.
Well, I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
if I could get her to allow us to go sooner, then I'll definitely.
No, later than that. But Kay,
Oh.
will you be at LPC? On the, I can't.
Yeah,
Well,
I
this is-
can. It's,
I mean, this is one of these routine things that even if it
Even if we
went
don't appeal.
earlier with the committee resolution, I'm sure nobody has an objection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
in this
right.
case,
That's a good
agree.
point. All right, so keep your date at LPC for the 4th, and we'll do what we can. And I thank you, and we'll see you when we need to see you again.
All right. I thank you all. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
See you
Have a
when
good-
they demolish the Apthorp.
We just fixed it up for years.
it's beautiful.
Come back in
All right.
300 years.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
Right.
Thank you all.
All
Thank you,
right.
Joseph.
All right, thank
care.
you. Thank you. So does anybody have any new business they want to bring up? No, I just want to say I appreciate the decorum of this meeting and hope we can, and know we can go forward with the same in the future. I really appreciate that you all were available this summer. That really made a big, big difference, including the office. And yeah,
And Michelle,
Thank
for the
you.
future, I do think that what Paige brought up about the Riverside Drive situation and getting, some
Yeah.
thoughts before landmarks about that, but that's going forward. We don't,
yeah, we
we
can,
can do that now.
yeah,
We can do that on
okay,
email.
yeah, let's call the meeting while we're all on good terms with each other.
When will that be? Okay.
Yeah. All right, thanks,
long.
everybody, and moving forward, thank you very much.
Okay.
thank you.